Hello. It is I, once again, the Bruce Wayne of Azur Lane, back at again for another Azur Lane video. And this topic of discussion of whether or not the Shikikan's pelvis is in danger, it has come up on my channel quite a few times. It came up on my stream last night, and that's when I remembered that there was someone in the Reddit who decided to do a no-joke scientific study on whether or not the Shikikan's pelvis is truly in danger. And as a Shikikan, you got to know this stuff. I mean, you just can't, you can't leave stuff up to chance. Got to know this stuff. So I decided I would just read this study to inform you and everyone on the dangers of being a Shikikan in particular. So I brought with me, I need to dust off my reading glasses. Here we go. Okay. I did the math and research to find out if Shikikan's pelvis was in danger. And I would like to thank Prince Oygen Azur Lane for posting this in the Reddit. He says, "Hello everyone. I've been seeing a lot of posts pertaining to the danger Shikikan's pelvis is in and how often it would break. But would that actually be the case? So in this weird Reddit post, I did some research and determined if realistically Shikikan would have a broken pelvis if Formidable topped him, or if all the foxes had a go at him during mating season, or if he would break due to repetitive topping. I shall read on further. For the sake of this post, we will assume Shikikan's libido is that of a rabbit in heat, and that his switch is never flipped off, which could cause this sort of problem, since most people after a while simply say stop and don't do it for a few days to recuperate. But then again, the ship girls might not give you a say in the matter, so it depends. This is true. This is good research, because this needs to be factored in. Now, for starters, let's lay some groundwork. According to the National Library of Medicine, a pelvis would need a force of between 2,000 to 10,000 newtons to break. Usually, they break from high-impact traumas, such as falling from high places or a car slamming into you. For comparison, an amateur boxer can punch about 2,500 newtons of force, good enough to break someone's pelvis if they were on the low end of the spectrum, but not the high end. So let's assume for this part, Shikikan is in peak physical condition as it has the highest resistance at 10,000 newtons needed to break his pelvis. Given that the amateur boxer would suddenly no longer be able to break his pelvis with a punch. Now, if we used the force formula, force equals mass times acceleration, it would take about 1 ton dropped at a height of 1 meter to break his pelvis, which I'm sure none of the ship girls weigh unless you count their rigging on. If we were to take the low end of the spectrum and go with 2,000 newtons and apply the force formula, you'd need someone weighing around 200 kilograms dropped from a height of 1 meter to break it. In this latter instance, some ship girls could be categorized as being close to or over the 200 kg mark. However, I doubt they'd drop on Shikikan from 1 meter if they were going to top him. As such, we're going to look at it if repeated topping could theoretically break his pelvis, and at what rate for both the high end and the low end of the spectrum. See, he's covering all his bases here. See, he's trying to, take into account, all Shikikans. I appreciate that. For the next part, I'm going to be using an old post I made where I essentially calculated if the Shikikan could theoretically please every girl in his port, only this time we're giving him a normal pelvis instead of a titanium-reinforced pelvis. In that post, I made the statement that within a 4-hour period, Shikikan, while being in tip-top shape and top libido game, would be able to please 21 ship girls. So I'll be rolling with this number for the rest of this post. If you wish to look at the other post, please do so, as it might give some more context to the numbers I'm going to give. Now, according to this source, pelvic fractures and bones breaking in the pelvic region can also happen during athletic activities. Okay, sorry. Which is known as an avulsion fracture. It is basically where you tear a tendon or ligament while doing said activities, and the ligament takes a piece of the bone with it as it tears. That sounds painful. When that happens, you basically become unable to move properly, and is quite serious. Using this, I'm going to make the argument that sex is a somewhat athletic activity. I mean, it is if you're doing it right. Okay, I gotta stop digressing on stuff like that. Anyway, in which Shiki-Kan could theoretically suffer an avulsion fracture. The fracture itself could happen from him topping or him being topped. Granted, for the life of me, I've tried looking for pelvic avulsion fractures caused by sex in most of the research I'm reading most of the researches I'm reading pander to sexual functions after the fracture. So I'm guessing it doesn't happen often, or it's maybe conjecture on my part. Hey, I mean, you got to take everything into account. Anyway, I shall continue. Now that we found out it is possible for pelvic fractures to be caused by a sudden force, athletic reasons, or straining activities, let's find out how much time or how many ship girls would Shiki-Kan go through before suffering from an avulsion fracture. Now, according to this, from the average person to the average athlete, too much exercise is essentially burning 6,500 calories, which equates to 13 hours of training or 2 hours of cardiovascular training, which can cause pressure on your joints, your hips and pelvis region being your joints. Now, given that intercourse is a cardiovascular dependent activity, and Shiki-Kan does it with 21 ship girls for 7 minutes each, for a total of 147 minutes, and we're already past the 2-hour mark, as stated in his previous post. As such, Shiki-Kan is already breaking past the limit over exercising. While previous post does mention him having 5-minute breaks between sessions, it does not mention having break days to recuperate like a normal athlete would after intensive exercise. As such, yesterday's pain is today's pain as well, and so on until Shiki-Kan breaks, basically. From here on out, it becomes a question of how much can Shiki-Kan take before he breaks. I don't know, I mean, my personal endurance is pretty high, so I mean, I'll give myself maybe a little extra. Okay, now I'm digressing again. I'm just fooling around. According to this article, a rule of thumb is, if my thighs are sore from a lower body strength workout I did yesterday, I should not train them again today. As such, we can assume that, by and large, after 2 days of 147 minutes of sex, Shiki-Kan's hips would become sore from being topped or topping. From then on, it's basically conjecture. Based on the previous argument, if Shiki-Kan has a very brittle pelvis region, I'd give him 4 days before an avulsion happens. If Shiki-Kan is, as we said, tip-top shape with the pelvis capable of resisting a ton of force, then I'd give it 7 to 9 days before an avulsion fracture happens and breaks his pelvis. Keep in mind, this is conjecture, and my own numbers, as I can't find much data to support this. Most of it is based off experience or athletic experience or buff friends that I ask around. With all that context done and numbers crunched, I can say that without a doubt, if Shiki-Kan has a frail pelvic region, he could support 81 ship girls topping him every day for 4 hours at a time with no rest before it broke. If he had a strong pelvic region, he could support 189 before it broke. Granted, this is all under the circumstances that he doesn't break it before then due to constant muscle strain or a faux pas during the actual process of it all. And so due to this incredibly accurate and intelligent scientific analysis, what we can conclude is there's never been a pelvis that has been more at risk of breaking than that of Shikikan in the entire history of humankind. Probably, I would say there's been never a pelvis more at risk of breaking in all of anime harem history than Shikikan. Take care of your pelvis, guys. Gosh, you eat your calcium supplements, drink your milk, get your, work out your muscles down there, get your exercise in. You need to keep your pelvis in tip-top shape. Because, dang. Yeah. And then if you scroll down further, he just says, Shikikans realizing how effed their pelvis is after reading this post. Yes. And let's be honest, I know that's you guys. I mean, to be fair, Musashi alone is going to be crushing most people's pelvises. Anyway, that's all I got for you today, guys. And I wish you all a farewell and following seas. And if you like my content, please like and subscribe. Take it easy, guys.